Hi there, my name is Tracy. I am designing today for 12 by 12 cardstock shop, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make this unconventionally Christmas colored wreath using the Encore brand of textured paper from 12 by 12 cardstock shop. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. Okay, so I've taken out the papers, and friends, I cut my papers down to 6 by 6 because I'm a card maker, so I don't need a 12 by 12 sheet. And the colors that we're using today are Flamingo, Princess Pink, and I've cut some of this, I keep all my scraps, Hot Pink, Sea Mist, Swimming Pool, and Capri Cove, along with the white. And here are my swatches. I thought I'd just pull those out because they're just so much fun to pull out. So if you have the swatch book, and it helps to remember. And I'm going to be using this holiday wreath die set. I'm going to use just the little candy cane die from this set. And just show you how this paper handles alcohol markers. And then I'm going to be using the Christmas word and a sub-sentiment, so either Merry Christmas or Christmas wishes or whatever, something. I'll make up my mind when I get there. And, just mainly I want to demonstrate how beautifully this paper cuts. So I'm going to be die cutting, and I will do some die cutting on camera just to kind of demonstrate how wonderfully it cuts. And then I'll die cut the rest off camera, otherwise this would be, a very long video. So looking at the sample wreath, I know that I have 2 colors on the wreath, and I'm going to do 3 colors, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to do the medium and the light tone, and I'm going to save the dark piece for the smaller pieces. So for these, I'll need to get out my big die cutting machine, and then for the smaller ones, we'll take out the small one. So, by the way, if you're not already subscribed to the 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop channel, we hope that you'll consider subscribing and hit that notification bell so that you get notified every time someone uploads a new video. So much to learn, so many goodies in the shop, great quick shipping, wonderful, wonderful customer service. So, I highly recommend. And let's go ahead and do the smaller one, which is going to be the lightest color. And that's all I'll need my big old fatty machine for. And that's not even the biggest one I have, but hey, we won't go there. We'll get all this out of the way, and I'll pull out my little baby machine because I can cut the rest with that. And I'm going to cut a bunch of very tiny things, and I just wanted to demonstrate, again, how well this paper cuts with very intricate dies. So I'll be cutting all the little leaves out of this darkest teal color, this Capri Cove. I'll just lay the dies on here. Luckily, I don't need to tape them because as long as they kind of sit there, I'm good. I don't have to aim for anything. We'll get that run through, and it just cut beautifully. Of course, I'll have to poke some out of the dies because, it will stick in the dies. That doesn't have anything to do with the paper. It just has to do with how tight my machine is. So I've got all those cut out, and I will do a bunch more cutting. Look at how that delicate piece came out. So I've done all the rest of the cutting off camera, and now I've got my little candy canes, and I wanted to show you that I stamped on this, and this is textured paper. I wanted to use all textured paper for this. And this is an alcohol marker, and I'm going to color my little candy canes so they look more like candy canes. And it brings the red in because the red, teal, and pink combination, also mint green, but I didn't add any mint green this time, is a great Christmas kind of alternative color scheme. Okay, so we've got those all colored in. Now I'm ready to put this wreath together. And I'm going to show you a little trick that I do with tiny, skinny little die cuts like that. I grab my glue and I just spread some across my hand. And, if you don't like to get dirty, you can do it, on like a silicone mat or something like that. But I just prefer it on my hand, and then I let it dry, forget about it. I look down at my hand and I'm like, what is that on my hand? And I realize that I haven't peeled the glue off yet, so I get the satisfaction of doing that. So I'm going to pop this second piece, this lighter piece, up on some foam tape because I want to be able to tuck things up underneath it. And, I want some dimension to my card. So I'm just grabbing some foam tape strips and just putting them in the middle. But I do want the whole thing covered so that, it gets lots of support. And this is a 5x7 card, by the way. And I already have a pre-made red 5x7 card base that I'm going to be using. So we'll get that stuck down. I happen to have some sticky, double-sided sticky that's not sticky on both sides, and I love it. It's my favorite thing because I can just glue it down. And then back to the glue trick and just dipping my little leaves right in the glue there on my hand. And I'm just kind of putting these down random. I cut 3 of each one. You can cut as many as you want, but that's how I did it. Now let's get these smaller ones. So I put the bigger ones on the inside, smaller ones on the outside. Again, you do you, as many or as little as you want. You don't need to do any if you don't want to. But the more colors you add is just, makes the card more visually appealing. So adding a little bit more glue here and just continuing to stick these down. And they're all going under the lighter layer. What I love about this cardstock is the texture. It inks beautifully if you ever, want to make added dimension. I did not do that for this because there's so many small parts to it that it's really not necessary. But, you can add a little bit darker color ink and add dimension with shading and things like that, and it just takes and holds ink beautifully. All right, so let's get these little holly pieces on here. And I cut 5 of those, and I'm not going to get them perfectly evenly spaced. So you'll notice that nothing's perfectly evenly spaced here on this little wreath, and I've done it that way by design. So just in case you're saying, come on, T, and that's my friends call me, by the way, as T, why are you getting these so oddball? Because I'm still going to be putting a ton more stuff on here. And so just like when you do your Christmas tree, you try, but it just doesn't always work out, and it looks good that way. It looks more organic. Although I've actually never seen a natural wreath in nature, but I'm sure they exist. So now I'm going to put the little berries on, and for those I use the hot pink. So nice contrasting color. Pink and teal are beautiful together. Orange is good with teal as well, just in case you wondered, but today we're doing pink. I don't see orange very much for Christmas. You could, again, maybe you're an orange person and you have orange ornaments and orange lights for your Christmas tree. So now I'm just using my little wax pickup tool to pick those little pieces up and glue them down. Now notice here I'm missing a piece. Where is that piece? I can see it now that I'm doing a voiceover for this film, but at the time I didn't even notice it until I did. See, here I am looking for it. There it is. What are you doing over there? Get on the berry. There we go. Okay, next up we're going to do the bow. So the bow has this back piece, these little tails, and then the top 2 pieces. So what I like to do is put the glue on the edge of the tail, and let me zoom in here for you a little bit, and then lay my bow or whatever it is down onto it rather than trying to flip things over and glue it to the back. And that way I get everything sitting exactly the way I want it. And then I just take a clean cloth and wipe up any excess glue. And then we'll glue down this portion of the bow, which is the top portion, which would be lighter. And then there's a little tiny little square piece there. And let's see. Now I left myself space for my bow. I'm trying to decide how I want my bow. And I decide I want the bow on the side rather than hanging from the top. So that's where it's going to go. And now I can just glue down little ornaments. So I'm just laying down my glue and kind of alternating between the flamingo pink and the princess pink on the ornaments. And sorry about the sniffles. Suffering from a cold. I don't know how that happened, but it did. So there's that. Let's get some more of these down. And I probably cut more than I needed, but I'd rather have more and lose some than not have enough and have to cut more when I'm right in the middle of putting my project together. Okay, good. Now we'll go for the candy canes. And I did use a pen, so I wanted to illustrate, and I'll show you later how well like a gel pen works on these. I did use a gel pen to add a little bit of dimension onto those candy canes. And we're going to add even more dimension with glossy accents later on. So we're going to get the 5 candy canes on. Don't be afraid to mix and match your die sets, friends, to get what you want, because yeah, I didn't have any candy canes. Had I a die set that would do red and white candy canes, of course I would have gone for that, but I don't, so just made do, and I'm perfectly happy with how that works out. Okay, so we've got the candy canes on, we've got all that on. Now it's time to put the card together. So I've got my card base, and I'm going to glue this directly down to the card base, and then I'll pop up my Christmas. I'm just using some liquid glue. I use PVA glue. Another thing great about this paper is it doesn't show like glue bumps. I call them glue worms. When you glue it down, some papers will. You'll glue them down and you'll see, like you saw how I made zigzag marks on that. You'll see little zigzag marks all over, and it's funky. But this paper does not do that, so I'm very, very happy. I bought a 100-pack, so that's how happy I am with this paper. It's so perfect for die cutting. Now my 100-pack I haven't cut into yet into 6x6 pieces, but I bought plenty of paper and I cut it into 6x6 pieces and store it in rainbow order. Because again, I'm a card maker. I don't need a 12x12 piece ever. Even if I did, you know, it would be a pattern paper. And listen, 12x12 Cardstock shop sells pattern paper too, because I bought some. All right, let's grab the glossy accents here. And I don't know why I don't save this step for last. Do you guys do that? Like, wait, I probably should have done XYZ first, but I just couldn't wait to get the glossy accents. And I'm putting it on the candy canes and on the little berries. And that's going to bring out that hot pink color even more. Okay. I'm not putting it on the ornaments. You'll see what I'm doing to the ornaments later. Get that little candy cane. And next, I'm going to grab my embellishments. It looks great just like it is, but I've got here some embellishments because I want to pulse more of that red in. I've got these little sparkle spots, and they are a red color. So I've got some red ones, and I've got some light teal ones that are kind of iridescent, and those are going to go in here too. You won't see them very well, but when they hit the light, you see them. So you can see that what I'm doing is just like on your Christmas tree or a wreath that you're building. I'm filling in the empty spaces with the smallest of these. They come in multiple sizes. I just want the small ones. Just laying them down. So I hope you liked the video. If you do, please leave us a thumbs up. We appreciate all your support. And everything that I have used here from the 12x12 Cardstock shop will be linked in the description box. Okay, I think I'm good with the red ones. Let's pull out the little blue ones. See, I probably should have done these before I did the glossy accents, but I got lucky and didn't accidentally put my hand in them. Typically, that's what would happen to me. And so you can't really see these blue ones, but they do, when at least not on camera. When you look at them in person, you can clearly see them, but they're just, because they're this light teal color, they kind of blend in nicely with the paper. Let's do one more over here. I'm really low on those because they're my favorites. So there's how it's looking so far. Now I'm going to grab my little gel pen and I'm just going to add some highlights there to the little ornaments. And I just wanted to show you how well a little gel pen will work on this textured paper. You expect stamping and other things won't work out well, but it works beautifully. So, and I probably should have added the highlights to the bow before I glued it on, but that's, you know, hindsight. And I can't see very well in foresight, so there we go. There, we're finished. So I hope you liked the video. If you do, leave us a thumbs up. And everything you need described down below. Here's a couple of still pictures of the little wreath card that we made today. Thank you so much for stopping by the 12x12 cardstock shop. And have yourself an amazing day and happy holidays. Bye-bye.